In my third playthrough of Pokemon Violet, I completed my very first shiny badge quest, catching a shiny Pokemon for all 18 badges within the main story, 3 of which were caught in the Teal Mask DLC. I even saved the entire Paldea region when I defeated AI Professor Turo inside Area 0. Still, I wanted to get even stronger, leaving me with only one option. With only 4 shiny Pokemon to my name at the time in Cerulege, Vivillon, Palmo, and Kirlia, I received an earlier than expected phone call while over at the land of Kitakami from Director Clavel over at Uva Academy, offering me the opportunity of a lifetime to step out of my Paldea comfort zone and head to the famed Unova region to be an exchange student at Blueberry Academy. I was instantly hooked, so I immediately went to Uva Academy to find out what's going on when I was confronted by Blueberry Academy Director Serrano. Apparently, my desire for wanting to be a better Pokemon trainer and shiny hunter was no longer a best-kept secret. So with the blessing of Clavel, I left with Serrano for just a week to head over to Blueberry Academy. I wanted to find out what it was all about. So with a simple soccer hat trick from Serrano himself, it was onward to the Unova region. After another long, tiresome plane ride, I have officially arrived in the Unova region, wanting to get just a small taste of that Blueberry Academy life. And I gotta say, I love the atmosphere here. Just look at how beautifully this academy was crafted, even over a large body of water. As I continued to take it all in and breathe in that Unova fresh air, I was promptly introduced by a second-year student at Blueberry Academy by the name of Lacey. And right on cue, Lacey granted me full access to the Blueberry Academy's entrance battle court. It was right at that moment I found out that Blueberry Academy is unlike Uva Academy, putting a strong emphasis on Pokemon battles, which is right up my alley. Serrano immediately insisted I battle Lacey to get to further know her, and even spilled the beans that she's not only a BB League Elite 4 member, that she is the daughter of a Unova region gym leader. And I gotta agree with Lacey, that's just not right. Serrano's curiosity had to know if I was tough enough, so Lacey and I had no choice but to go with the battle as planned. Lacey also gave me a fair, friendly warning that the Blueberry Academy focuses on double battles, something that I was not used to in Paldea at that time, and it showed when I came into this battle severely underleveled, as Lacey's level 70 plus and tag team completely destroyed my shiny partners. I was in way over my head when I accepted this challenge, but Lacey shrugged it off, thinking that she barely defeated me, even though clearly I was dominated by her plus Lemainen. Then I started to question myself if I was good enough to even want to come back to Blueberry Academy. However, Serrano told me not to worry about it and gave me a Blueberry Academy uniform set, which I gladly accepted, and Lacey thought it fit me to a T. Expressing even more gratitude for even me wanting to take the tour, Serrano gave me an Indigo Style card, and then they introduced me to the best part about the Indigo Disk DLC, the state-of-the-art terrarium. I immediately fell in love with it once I saw what was inside. While walking in the terrarium for the first time, Lacey told me that there are 4 distinct biomes, including the first one that was already in view, the Savannah biome. The one that I liked the most, the Coastal biome. The one where I knew I had to do a lot of climbing just to find future shiny partners, the Canyon biome. and the place that I felt had two of the most important Pokemon I needed on my journey, the polar biome. And that sums up my early tour of Blueberry Academy. I wasn't going to return until I became a stronger trainer than I was when I came in, and that's exactly what I told Lacey, despite the fact that she offered me a quick glance at a class at the coastal biome. I promised myself, my Pokemon, and even Lacey herself that when I returned, I wasn't coming to Blueberry Academy to take part. I was coming back to Blueberry Academy to take over. But until then, it was back to Paldea for some more shiny hunting and more serious battling. Now, with 18 shiny Pokemon and fully classified as a champion in the Paldea region, I returned to the land of Kitakami, wanting to become even stronger by helping out the Kitakami siblings Carmine and Kieran in helping clear the name and the legacy of the legendary Pokemon Ogre. With Carmine's help in defeating Monkey Dory, Okidoki, and Pheasantipity, the Loyal Three, I was able to retrieve all 3 masks for Ogre, deeming me worthy of the opportunity of battling, defeating, and catching Ogre in a Beast Ball. But my time in Kitakami was not done just yet. I returned to the Loyalty Plaza and noticed that the Loyal 3 monument was destroyed. So I decided to pitch in by donating $1 million of my winnings throughout the entire run of the Paldea region and the Kitakami story in order for the monument to be properly restored. Before I returned back to Paldea as champion, I decided to witness the resurrection of the Loyal 3 monument, and the caretaker gave me something nice to wear in the form of the flashy djembe, which is perfect wardrobe for a shiny hunter like myself. Returning to Paldea as champion, I felt the need to hunt for 2 more shiny Pokemon to put me at an even 20. As you noticed by my channel art, which was gracefully written for me by awesome artist and streamer Ember Z Painter, I did not have a shiny Luxray or a shiny Lurantis as part of my shiny badge quests, so I felt the need to hunt for both of them, starting with Luxray back in Paldea. For the first time throughout the entire run during my no-holds-barred approach, I used Herba Mystica for a level 2 encounter power electric sandwich, which increased the opportunity of me seeing more Luxray solo or in a pack with Shinx at North Province Area 2. Only 5 minutes into my first sandwich attempt, I found my 3rd shiny channel mascot in Luxray, a shiny I fell in love with when I caught my first shiny Shinx and evolved it all the way to Luxray while playing Pokemon Legends Arceus, which to this day is still my favorite Pokemon game. A lot of aggressive wild Pokemon reside in the North Province Area 2, and Luxray just so happens to be one of them. So I knew I needed to act quick, knowing that Luxray doesn't have a self-inflicted move that could eventually fade itself. Just like I did with Gardevoir early on in my shiny badge quest, I caught this shiny Luxray in a Luxury Ball, which is my favorite Pokeball of choice when catching many shiny Pokemon. Not sure if I was going to use Luxray at any point when I returned to the Blueberry Academy, but at least I had another shiny channel mascot, which came with the defense-boosting impish nature, and it also came with a special sleepy time mark. Another thing I loved about this Luxray is that it was proud of its power. As I decided to show off my flashy djembe for the first time in Montenevera, I saw a mass outbreak in Kitakami for another one of my channel mascots, technically the first form of it being Fomantis. And on my first attempt of a grass level 2 encounter power sandwich, on the 15th minute of it, I was able to find my 4th and final shiny channel mascot, when it evolves, of course. Trying to hunt for a shiny Pokemon in a mass outbreak at the Apple Orchard near the Loyalty Plaza is no easy feat. but I was able to find Shiny Fomantis after all. The shiny is easily noticeable once it spawns on screen. I tried desperately to catch it in a beast ball, but with the low percentage rate, that wasn't happening. So for the first time throughout this shiny only run of Pokemon Violet, I used a more appropriate ball for the shiny, a nest ball. I now have all 4 of my shiny Pokemon channel mascots, as this Fomantis came with the special defense boosting sassy nature. And after feeding this Fomantis 1 rare candy, I was able to add a shiny Lurantis for my 20th shiny in this long run of Pokemon Violet. As my last official act in the Paldea region for a while before returning to the Unova region for some unfinished business, I decided to assist top champion Gita by inspecting all 8 Paldea gyms, which meant taking on the gym leaders once again in rematches. This afforded me the chance to showcase all 20 shiny Pokemon during all 8 gym leader rematches, rotating them in and out of various battles. I even helped out one of my favorite gym leaders in Iono back at Levencia Town by pumping up the crowd with my awesome display of battling. In doing so, it also gained Iono a bunch of new subscribers during that live stream. Now this gives me the opportunity to tell you my plan for when I return to the Blueberry Academy for this now shiny-only run of Pokemon Violet. When I returned to Blueberry Academy and before I decided to challenge the BB League Elite Four, I needed to catch not 1, not 2, but 10 shinies for a full box of 30 shiny Pokemon for this run, continuing also to nickname them after my favorite television game shows. I named my shiny Luxray off of the game show Blockbusters, while also nicknaming my shiny Lurantis after the game show High Rollers in tribute to the fact that one of Lurantis' moves learned by leveling up is Leaf Storm. Another self-imposed rule that I placed upon myself as I returned to the terrarium was to not feed any of my shiny Pokemon vitamins to increase their stats, even though I can still level all of them up to 100, knowing how tough the battles are in the Blueberry Academy. As I wrap up my run of defeating all 8 gym leaders in rematches in Paldea, I saved the best one, in my opinion, for last, in Psychic Gym Leader Tulip. As Miss Maggie scored the final KO of her Psychic Terraflorges with Shadow Ball, it was time for me to start making my final preparations for returning to Unova. In closing, Tulip left me with a heartfelt farewell message to simply not fade away. She wanted to see how far I could go as a trainer. Another promise made, and a promise I fully intend to keep. Right before departing Paldea, I did some more organizing in Pokemon Home to complete both the Kitakami and Blueberry Pokedexes. Then I was headed back to Kitakami, where I met up with one of my professors in Uva Academy who just so happened to be there, Professor Jock, who was astounded by the fact that I completed the Kitakami Pokedex so quickly, so I was honored with another diploma and received the Glittering Charm, which increases the number of Terra Shards you get while completing and winning 3 through 6-star Terra Raid battles. Now back in the Unova region, I met up with Director Serrano over at Blueberry Academy to show him that I completed the Blueberry Pokedex. In return, I was able to get the Mark Charm, which greatly increases the odds of finding a Pokemon with a mark. Director Clavel even showed up and gave me yet another diploma. What can I say? I like things that sparkle. While making a pit stop over at Central Plaza, I found out from a teacher that there was some drama going on within the BB League Club, and I had no idea what the BB League Club stood for at the time. All I wanted to do was head to an area at the plaza to pick up my favorite new TM that debuted in the Indigo Disk DLC, Psychic Noise. And now we've come to the meat and potatoes of this Pokemon Violet Shiny Only Run, the Indigo Disk edition of my Shiny Badge Quest. While fishing for lead points while completing Blueberry Quest, I couldn't resist but head to this top of the rock on this Lion King reference, standing next to a male Pyroar. While still completing some BBQs, I stumbled across my first shiny Pokemon out of the corner of my eye in the terrarium while accidentally running into a Pikipek. I was not targeting this particular Pokemon in the coastal biome, but like I said earlier, it's a random encounter, so I had to take what the game was giving me. And what the game gave me in this case was a shiny Slackoff lying on the beach in a pack of 5. Trying to catch all my shiny Pokemon with different Pokeballs, for the first time during this run, I used an Ultra Ball for the capture. And what is truly a solid normal type once it fully evolves into Slackhand. This Slackoff had the mild nature, and also my second shiny within this run that came with a mark. And which mark did I get on this Slackoff, you might ask? I think it's pretty appropriate. The lunchtime mark. When I completed the main story in the Shiny Badge Quest, at the start of the post-game, I got my first Master Ball. Then I got a second one by completing the Blueberry Pokedex, which leads me to my first real serious hunt within the terrarium. I made a Steel Level 3 Sparkling Title and Humongo Sandwich at Level 3 in the hopes of maybe getting a Jumbo-marked Shiny Beldum. With roughly 8 minutes to go in this sandwich, I managed to find this awesome pseudo-legendary from the Hoenn region, which has arguably the lowest catch rate of any Pokemon that's not a straight-up legendary. Which is why I made sure that when I found one within this mass outbreak after knocking out 60 plus, I wanted to zone in and catch this Beldum immediately by letting loose with one of my 2 Master Balls. And just like that, I managed to catch my favorite shiny Steel type when it fully evolves. And just like another pseudo-legendary that I caught within the Pokemon Violet Shiny Badge Quest portion of this run, this Beldum had the attack-boosting, defense-lowering Lonely nature, and also came with the ridiculously common Uncommon mark. And after feeding the future nicknamed Sale of the Century 2 rare candies, I now had one of my top 5 favorite shinies of all time, Metagross. I still felt the need for balance within all the shiny Pokemon I was catching within the terrarium. So back at the coastal biome, I popped the Fairy Level 3 Encounter Power Sandwich in the hopes of getting a shiny Cottony. And with just 5 minutes remaining in the sandwich, my prayers were answered, as I was able to catch only my second fairy type within this run, joining Gardevoir in that category. Cottony also became my third grass shiny within this run, joining Lurantis and Leavanny, as I wasted little time in catching this shiny Cottony in a Moon Ball. My first time using this ball, and what was originally meant for my shiny Eevee, now Umbreon. This shiny Cottony ended up being a perfect one for my game plan for one of the 4 BB League Elite 4 members, coming with the defense boosting, speed lowering, relaxed nature, and even more importantly, the prankster ability. And after feeding it a shiny stone, it evolved into the whimsical Whimsicott. I named Whimsicott after the game show What's My Line, as I made my most impactful sandwich next, as I tried to fill in my first box with nothing but shiny Pokemon, making this Dragon Level 3 Sparkling Title and Encounter Power Sandwich in pursuit of my first target being a shiny Vibrava. I found one almost instantly after just 2 resets into the sandwich, while an angry Flygon found me, forcing me to scramble for a safe spot to save the game before encountering the shiny Vibrava, which is going to be a Flygon anyway. After hopping on top of this rock with Maridon, It was time to catch yet another pseudo-legendary shiny. I used my first Great Ball within this run for the capture. With eons of time to spare, I had enough room to go for a second shiny dragon while the sandwich time was still active, as this shiny Vibrava came with the special defense boosting Calm Nature, and my second shiny with the Levitate ability joining Vikavolt. Now I headed to the Canyon biome in the hopes of going for another shiny dragon. The target was actually Altaria. However, the game gave me something even better. How ironic that this game gave me Nova vibes, even though I never played Pokemon Black, White, Black 2, or White 2, as I came across a shiny Fracture. I had to pull off the Legends Arceus backstrike technique to ensure that Fracture didn't spawn itself off screen by running away, just so that I could make sure to get the perfect thumbnail screenshot by encountering Fracture once again. And in one of the biggest surprise catches of them all, I managed to haul in this shiny Fracture in a Lure Ball, a Pokeball that is usually designed for catching Water-type Pokemon. And I guess this game loves giving me mild-natured shinies in the terrarium, just like my first catch of shiny Slackoff. And on top of that, Fracture also got the lunchtime mark, exactly like shiny Slackoff. There was amazingly still time left in the Dragon Sandwich, roughly 7 minutes worth, as I went into the coastal biome for the only dragon that spawns in the biome. And I found it. It was the tallest shiny Pokemon caught throughout the entire run, the Alolan regional form of Executor. This was probably my hardest shiny to catch throughout this run, considering it kept healing itself with Leech Seed. But ultimately, I caught shiny Alolan Executor in a repeat ball. I named this large tree trunk of a Pokemon after the 1980s short-lived game show Body Language, and it also came with the sassy nature. Then it was time for me to make some well-deserved evolutions. First, I nicknamed Shiny Fracture after the game show Child's Play, and evolved it into my favorite shiny dragon ever, Haxorus. Next up, I nicknamed my shiny Vibrava after the 1990s game show Russian Roulette, and evolved it with one rare candy to Shiny Flygon. And since Slackoff was my 21st shiny caught within this run, I named it after the game show network original Catch 21 and evolved it all the way to Slaking. Now I decided to cover all 4 bases and go back to the polar biome, making a sparkling, tidal, and encounter power level 3 ice sandwich to go after another Pokemon that I specifically reserved for my other Master Ball in my favorite ice type in all of Pokemon, Lapras. I was able to brave the frozen tundra and find the shiny Lapras in a blizzard. And as Gardevoir traced this ability revealing that Lapras had water absorb, I backed away from Lapras for a moment in order to encounter it again for that perfect thumbnail screenshot. As you probably noticed a slight lag in the gameplay when I ran into the Lapras a second time, which was a constant reminder of the plaguing performance issues in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But it didn't bother me there, as I managed to use my second and final Master Ball to catch Shiny Lapras, another Pokemon that I felt was vital in going up against the BB League Elite Four. Lapras had the neutral, quirky nature, and it also came with a mark. In this case, it ended up being the Dawn Mark. But I was not done yet, as there were 3 more shiny Pokemon I felt I needed for this journey, as I went into the nearby Chargestone Cavern and popped a ground sandwich in hopes of getting shiny Drillbur. 8 is my childhood favorite number. And roughly 19 minutes into the sandwich, I found my 8th shiny target within the terrarium. Normally, I always use a luxury ball for all the shinies I plan to use in playthroughs, but in this case, a luxury ball is perfect for shiny Drillbur. And for those of you keeping score, Drillbur is my second shiny ground type within the terrarium, joining my now fully evolved shiny Flygon. This Drillbur that I nicknamed after the game show Greed came with a defense boosting, attack lowering nature. A Unova region powerhouse that has grown on me, especially during this run, evolving this Drillbur to Shiny Excadrill. My first, third, and sixth shiny Pokemon caught within the terrarium during this run were in the coastal biome. My final 2 also came in the biome because I felt the need to use these 2 Pokemon within my journey in facing off against the BB League Elite Four. My 4th coastal biome shiny ended up being another Alolan region variant in Shiny Grimer. And just like my fully evolved Whimsicott, I caught this shiny Alolan Grimer in a Moon Ball. In the Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon games, Alolan Grimer and eventually its evolved form Muck were absolute beasts in that game due to its Poison Dark dual typing. And when I went through the Indigo Disk DLC for the first time on my main Pokemon Violet run, Alolan Grimer was the first shiny I caught in the terrarium as a random encounter. Speaking of random encounters, here's one that I absolutely welcomed, considering I wasn't able to get this shiny Pokemon in the base game, another Hoenn standout, Shiny Torkoal. And just like Swalot during my Bash Quest, I have never used a Torkoal in any of my playthroughs of the Pokemon games I've played before, so I wanted to give Torkoal its legitimate shot. Especially with the Drought ability powering up its Fire-type moves, it's going to come in handy for one of the BB League Elite Four battles. Being my slowest shiny Pokemon of the bunch, and my 10th and final shiny caught within the terrarium, this Torkoal, ironically enough, got the speed-boosting timid nature and was my 3rd shiny with the lunchtime mark caught in the Blueberry Academy. I evolved my shiny Alolan Grimer, nicknamed after the game show Chain Reaction, into shiny Alolan Muck, while also naming my shiny Torkoal after the game show Split Second. Finally catching up with Lacey at the Coastal Biome classroom, my assignment was simply to catch an Alolan region variant. Well, consider this assignment finished, and I guess you can say it was truly a walk in the park. My knack for catching Pokemon, let alone shiny Pokemon, finally started to catch the attention of Lacey. My time at the Blueberry Academy was rapidly improving by leaps and bounds, a much better difference from my first early initiation into the Academy. Lacey had to split for now, but right after she left, I got another unsuspecting phone call. This time from another old friend from Kitakami, Carmine. She must have heard through the grapevine that I was the only one from UVA Academy selected into the Blueberry Academy's exchange program. Carmine wanted me to meet up with her so we could reminisce and reunite at Central Plaza. My mind was telling me to blow her off, but honesty is definitely the best policy, as I actually missed Carmine's face. I also missed beating Carmine's teams into oblivion, as she challenged me to a double battle, where I now had a little more experience with due to those battles with Ghost-type Gym Leader Rhyme back in the Paldea region. Carmine brought out Toucanon and Mightyena, the latter of which was planning on doing a double intimidating strategy, which I countered perfectly by bringing in Shiny Gardevoir and Vikavolt, 2 special attackers. Not that it made any bit of a difference. Gardevoir's Trace ability threw Carmine's double intimidate strategy right back at her, as Gardevoir eliminated Mightyena with a Dazzling Gleam, and a Thunderbolt from Vikavolt took care of Toucanon. The domination of my favorite bug from Alola and Hoenn's #1 psychic type that gained the fairy typing in Gen 6 only served to continue, even though Carmine finally showed she can terrestrialize her Pokemon, in this case her ace Sinistra, into a Terra Grass type. I responded in kind by terrestrializing my Vikavolt into Terra Electric. I remained on the aggressive as Gardevoir struck both of Carmine's final 2 Pokemon with Dazzling Gleam, which was quite effective in wiping out Scrafty. Even though electric attacks are not very effective against grass types, the base special attack power of 145 on Vikavolt, which is pretty much like legendary, was still powerful enough to win the battle, as my destructive special attacking menaces completed a clean sweep of Carmine's team. Then after a short chat, we noticed something slightly disturbing from a distance. It was Kieran, who definitely looked a lot different and sounded a lot different from when I saw him in Kitakami. It was truly a sight that I didn't expect to see, and Carmine gave me all the deets, as someone else from a distance that came to Central Plaza felt that was truly painful to watch. That someone turned out to be Drayton, a young man that Carmine begrudgingly introduced me to, who was the strongest trainer in the Blueberry Academy. That is, until he ran into Kieran. Drayton showed me to the League Club room, and then Carmine showed me to my dorm room, where I was going to have a short stay in. I made a pact with Carmine to look after Kieran throughout my run in Blueberry Academy. And if Drayton at any point got out of line, Carmine gave me her permission to give him a good old sucker punch, as I met up with Drayton in the BB League cafeteria, as he wanted to get me to join the League Club. Showing up in the cafeteria as well were the rest of the Elite Four and Champion Kieran, who was pretty much stunned to see me in the cafeteria. Drayton was seemingly the only one in my corner as they put my acceptance into the League Club to a vote. Drayton was obviously a yes. Lacey unfortunately shunned me. Crispin, the young man with a frying pan, was a yay, while Amarys, the cool young lady with the shades, was another nay. It was 2 versus 2. Not only did I get the winning vote from the champion himself, much to the chagrin of Lacey, I might add, Kieran also stepped up to the plate for me when Drayton tried to sign me into the League Club. Despite the thrashing I received from Lacey in my first visit to the Academy, I was immediately put into a higher ranking, which gave me the right to challenge the BB League Elite Four at all their respective biomes. There was no secret who I wanted to defeat the most, but I decided to go to the Savannah biome first. It's finally time to square off against the BB League Elite Four, and I decided to take on Crispin, the fiery, hot-headed cook, first. His 2 leads are Talonflame and Rotom Heat, and I decided to counter with Russian Roulette, my shiny Flygon, and Gladiator, my shiny Lapras. To start off, I had Lapras use Protect on turn 1, and called for Flygon to set up Stealth Rock, so that every other Pokemon on Crispin's team took damage when they were subbed in. Talonflame hit Flygon with a powerful Brave Bird. And as the Stealth Rocks were released, Rotom also targeted Flygon with Will-O-Wisp to half Flygon's attack. Talonflame sets up the Sun on the next turn with Sunny Day, before getting struck by Flygon's Dragon Claw. And as Rotom targeted Flygon again with Hex, a Surf brought Flygon dangerously low, while also putting Talonflame in the red. With the burn from Will-O-Wisp lowering Flygon to 34 HP, I made the substitution and brought in one of my old reliable shinies from the base game, Pyramid, my shiny Cloth. Once again, I had Lapras go for Protect, knowing that Rotom has Thunderbolt. Cloth took a less effective Brave Bird from Talonflame and a Hex from Rotom, the latter of which would have knocked Flygon out if it stayed in. Talonflame healed up a bit with Roost before Rotom used the Will-O-Wisp again to burn Cloth. I decided to double up my attacks on both Pokemon with Rock Slide from Cloth and a Surf from Lapras. Rotom avoided the Rock Slide, but both attacks put down Talonflame. Unfortunately, Surf also hit Cloth, and with both Pokemon on my team weak to grass, Crispin immediately brought out Executor to once again set up the sun. I subbed out Lapras in favor of another veteran, Match Game, my shiny Ceruledge. Cloth was brought down to 1 HP with Hex, surviving on the power of friendship before wiping out Rotom with a Rock Tomb. This one-turn Sunny Day boosted Solar Beam from Executor should have knocked out Cloth, who toughed it out yet again before the burn from Will-O-Wisp finally put Cloth down. With 5 Pokemon remaining to Crispin's 4, I still felt confident as Crispin brought out his Camerupt. I decided to bring in yet another veteran, Garchomp, my shiny Garchomp. As Camerupt took some chip damage from Stealth Rock, a powerful crush from Garchomp immediately put Executor into the red, but it then healed up with a held Citrus Berry. A Leer from Ceruledge lowered both opposing Pokemon's defenses by 1. Garchomp ate a Solar Beam before Ceruledge was taken down incredibly low with a super effective Earth Power. On the next turn, I wanted to get Executor out of the battle immediately, but unfortunately I double attacked into a Protect, opening the door for Camerupt to knock out Ceruledge with 1 more Earth Power, and suddenly the battle was even. With Garchomp still at good HP, I decided to keep the Dominator from Sinnoh in the battle, and brought in one of my all-time favorites from Kanto, Lapras, still at full HP. On the very next turn, I finally rid myself of that pesky Executor with 1 more crush from Garchomp to take it out. And with the harsh sunlight fading, I clicked on Surf, which was quite effective to wash away Camerupt, and now I'm ahead in the battle, 4 Pokemon remaining to Crispin's 2, which were Magmortar and the Hoenn Fire starter Blaziken. Lapras clearly was my MVP for this battle, so I decided to sub out Garchomp and counter Blaziken with a water starter from Kalos. That's right, it's a Loteria Loca, my shiny Greninja. With Crispin now in dire straits, he brought out his trusty Frying Pan, charging up that Terror Orb to try to light up the battle with Blaziken. Once again, I had Lapras use Protect to bait out at least 1, if not 2, super effective attacks. Magmortar sets up the sun for the 3rd time, and Blaziken went with Stone Edge, which would have done serious damage to Lapras. Magmortar has Thunderbolted its moveset, but instead of terrestrializing Lapras, I decided to terrestrialize Greninja instead to try to power up a loaded dice boosted Water Shuriken. The first one scored a critical hit. The held item loaded dice guaranteed at least 4 hits from Water Shuriken, but I managed to get all 5 in. Blaziken then hit Lapras with the new move Temper Flare, before a Thunderbolt from Magmortar cut down more than half of Greninja's health. I then unleashed my secret weapon to guarantee victory by having Lapras play a Perish song, and everyone who heard it was on the clock for the next 3 turns. Well, everyone except Greninja. As Blaziken got another speed boost, I subbed out Greninja and brought back in Garchomp to deal with Magmortar. Now it was all a matter of making careful decisions and timely substitutions. One of those decisions was once again having Lapras protect itself. The Temper Flare from Blaziken went right into the Protect, while Magmortar foolishly went for Thunderbolt against the Ground type, putting everyone's Perish count except for Garchomp's at 2. After friendship dodging Blaziken's Focus Blast, Garchomp eliminated Magmortar from the battle with a Rock Tomb. I could have easily had Lapras conclude matters with Surf, but I decided to make Crispin suffer even more by washing away the sun with Rain Dance. To Crispin's credit, however, my team still took a beating. I decided to pull out the double switch, subbing out both Garchomp and Lapras to ensure the latter would not faint to its own Perish song. I brought back out my shiny Greninja to replace Garchomp, and then subbed out Lapras for my shiny Flygon, which unfortunately turned out to be a sacrifice that was well worth it. Blaziken knocked out Flygon with Stone Edge to get 1 more attack before Blaziken's Perish count fell all the way down to 0. And as Blaziken succumbed to Lapras' Perish song, I scored my first victory in the BB League Elite Four, with only 3 more members left to defeat. After receiving the Temper Flare TM, Crispin encouraged me to crank up the heat, which was exactly what I was looking to do against my next chosen opponent in the BB League Elite Four Gauntlet. Next on my BB League Elite Four agenda was Amarys, a young lady cool as a cucumber and the master of steel types. I sent out my chosen tag team a split second, my shiny Torkoal, and Hollywood Squares, my shiny Vikavolt, to do battle against Amarys' leads, Alolan Dugtrio and Skarmory. I decided to start off things hot, with Torkoal's route ability setting up a free sunny day, and Torkoal protected on the first turn to protect itself from Dugtrio's Earthquake, which also was not going to hit Vikavolt due to its Levitate ability. As Skarmory set up Stealth Rocks, I had Vikavolt set up a Sticky Web. Dugtrio again went for Earthquake, this time striking Torkoal for super effective damage. Skarmory also hit with a Body Press before being brought down to its sturdy from Vikavolt's Thunderbolts. I decided to have Torkoal strike for the first time in the bout, unleashing a powerful eruption boosted by the sun to get rid of Skarmory and bring Dugtrio all the way down to its focus sash. With Torkoal still on the field, Amarys then called upon the water starter from Sinnoh that doubles as a steel type, Empoleon, the final evolution of Piplup. I decided to unleash a shiny that I hadn't used the entire run, and I decided to let's make a deal by bringing in my shiny Furret. Furret's time in the spotlight was brief, but it still played an important role in the bout as Torkoal protected once again, shielding itself from both the Hydro Pump from Empoleon and Dugtrio's Stone Edge, either of which would have put out Torkoal's flames. I knew I needed Torkoal down the line for later in the battle, so I decided to make a switch and brought in Russian Roulette, my shiny Flygon, to deal with Dugtrio. The Alolan region that originally was from Kanto decided to attack with Stone Edge, which would have knocked Torkoal out. I then had Furret tidy things up to get rid of the Stealth Rocks set up by Amarys' Skarmory. It also got rid of Vikavolt's Sticky Web, which lowered the speed of Empoleon when it subbed in. At that point, Furret did its job, so I decided to sub Furret out and bring back out shiny Vikavolt to deal with Empoleon. Dugtrio did some significant damage to Flygon with an Iron Head, before it went down to Flygon's Earthquake, also taking half of Empoleon's HP away. Empoleon eliminated Flygon from the battle with a quad-effective Ice Beam. As the harsh sunlight faded away, Amarys brought in her only non-steel type Pokemon Reuniting into battle, as I decided to counter with Card Sharks my shiny Garchomp. Garchomp's Crunch eliminated half of Reuniclus's health before Vikavolt's Thunderbolt took out Empoleon, leaving Amarys with just 3 Pokemon left. Reuniclus's first act was setting up Trick Room, which was the beginning of the end for Amarys. As she brought in the hard-hitting, defensive-minded Scizor into play, I subbed out Vikavolt to bring back in Torkoal. Now everything was going according to plan. Garchomp took a Psychic from Reuniclus and even got a special defense drop. But it didn't matter as Garchomp eliminated Reuniclus with Crunch, leaving Amarys with just 2 Pokemon left. Torkoal confidently took a resistant Pounce from Scizor, forcing Amarys to summon her ace a la the Hoenn champion Steven, Metagross, who she wasted little time in terastallizing into a pure Steel type. I decided to terastallize Garchomp into Terra Ground, and I am so happy I made that decision. I had Torkoal protect itself on this turn. Metagross struck Garchomp with an Ice Punch, which would have been quad effective and knocked Garchomp out if I didn't terastallize. Garchomp responded in kind by delivering a powerful Earthquake to one-hit KO Metagross from the equation. To Scizor's credit, it survived the tremors, but not even an Oka Berry to weaken the damage from Fire-type moves was going to save Scizor from being burnt to a crisp by a quad effect of Eruption from Torkoal, earning me the victory over Amarys, making me 2-0 against the BB League Elite Four. With a relatively convincing victory, I inched myself another step closer to completing Pokemon Violet and both its DLCs using only shiny Pokemon. My next target was an obvious one. I was now going back to the coastal biome to get another shot at defeating Lacey. Lacey promised to hold nothing back in this rematch, And I wasn't going to either. Lacey was about to learn the harsh reality that revenge is best served stone cold. So with that in mind, I decided to bring out Double Dare, my shiny Swalot, and Sale of the Century, my shiny Metagross, to combat against her Whimsicott and Granbull. The latter of the two leads has the Intimidate ability, which lowers opposing Pokemon's attack stats by 1, but Metagross's Clear Body ability prevented that from happening. To put my strategy in motion, I had Swalot protect itself. The prankster Whimsicott set up a light screen, which Metagross ate for breakfast with Psychic Fangs before taking a Fire Punch from Granbull. Whimsicott set up light screen again, allowing for Metagross to one-shot Granbull with a powerful Meteor Mash. Then I made Whimsicott completely useless for the next 3 turns by having Swalot hit Whimsicott with an Encore. Predictably, Lacey brought out her Galarian Slowbro as I countered with my Slowbro Stopper, Chain Reaction, my shiny Alolan Muck, who confidently took a Flamethrower. Then I employed some Toxic Stalling as Swalot badly poisoned Whimsicott, allowing Muck to heal itself with a held Black Sludge. The effects of poisoning and Encore were plaguing Whimsicott. Muck hit Slowbro with a powerful knockoff to get rid of its Citrus Berry before Swalot put Whimsicott out of its misery with a Sludge Bomb. A Psychic from Slowbro severely damaged Swalot before Lacey brought out another problematic Pokemon on her team, the Water Starter from Alola, Primarina. Knowing another Psychic wasn't coming, I had Swalot protect itself while Muck badly poisoned Primarina with Toxic. A Majestic Moonblast took off a chunk of Muck's HP as the Psychic obviously went right into the Protect. After healing a bit with Black Sludge and realizing I liked the Kanto Slowbro better, I had Muck slap the Galarian knockoff into Fatedville, before Primarina delivered another Moonblast, taking Muck down to less than half its HP. Another Sludge Bomb from Swalot and more toxic damage continued to sap away at Primarina's health, forcing Lacey to bring in Alcremie to battle next, as I also made a substitution, playing the feud with my shiny Lucario. Once again, I had Swalot go for Protect, which proved to be beneficial, as both Alcremie and Primarina targeted Swalot, with the latter's Hyper Voice attack only striking Lucario. Primarina got an additional special attack boost due to a held Throat Spray before taking even more damage from Toxic, putting Primarina deep into the red. On the next turn, I had Lucario use Detect. In an act of desperation, Lacey had Alcremie decorate Primarina to give her a +3 in special attack, before Alcremie got poisoned with Swalot's Toxic. My degenerate strategy was paying off as Primarina's last act was a Moonblast that hopelessly went into Lucario's Detect before Primarina succumbed to poison. With only 2 Pokemon remaining, Lacey called upon her hard-hitting ace Pokemon Excadrill into battle, and immediately terrestrialized the ground steel type from the Unova region into Terra Fairy. In one last act of bravado, I decided to disrespect Lacey to the max by terrestrializing Lucario into Terra Fighting. At this point in the fight, Lacey was pretty much sick of Swalot, so she had her Excadrill score a KO with a dose of high horsepower. In retaliation, her Alcremie got knocked out with one swift Meteor Mash from Lucario. Losing Swalot was all part of the plan, as I decided to sub in my own shiny counterpart to Lacey's ace with Greed, my shiny Excadrill. Without even wasting a breath, I had Lucario use Detect once again, figuring that Lacey was going to target the now fighting Terra Lucario with a Fairy Terra boosted Terra Blast. And Lacey fell right into my trap, allowing my shiny Excadrill to claim victory for my team and vindication from me as a trainer with one destructive Iron Head. This truly was my greatest strategic performance in any Pokemon battle, much less a double battle, as I obtained my 3rd consecutive victory over a BB League Elite Four leader. In spite of my malicious intent to utterly crush Lacey's spirit in that last bout, thankfully she didn't hold it against me, which made me feel really good as a Pokemon trainer. Even after Lacey shockingly shunned me in the BB League cafeteria voting process. I didn't hold that against Lacey either, and considering she's a Fairy type leader, Fairy is my favorite typing, making Lacey my favorite BB League Elite Four leader. After receiving the TM for the new fairy move Alluring Voice, Lacey made me promise her to knock Drayton's laid-back confidence down a notch, and knowing that the polar biome was my next destination, I was more than glad to oblige her. Upon arrival into the polar biome, I was about to exchange 50 PP to accept the challenge to face Drayton. However, Drayton was one step ahead of me, as he decided to charge my 50 BP to his account. That way we could get started with his elite trial. A trial that initially caught me off guard during my first playthrough of the Indigo Disk story. It's a terrarium-only challenge, where you have to use Pokemon caught within the terrarium against Drayton's 3 trainers, and you have to have your OT name attached to all of them. Let's see how that went about really quick. Completely acing Drayton's terrarium-only elite challenge, I was now firmly standing on business. Remembering the promise I made to Lacey and my own reputation as the true top champion of the Paldea region on the line, I boldly challenged Drayton to a serious double battle against this team full of fire-breathing dragons. The first 2 of which being Flygon and Dragonite. So I decided to counter his 2 dragons with a pair of fairies. The Price is Right, my shiny Gardevoir, and What's My Line, my shiny Whimsicott. Gardevoir traced Dragonite's hidden ability Multiscale, which proved to be beneficial when Dragonite struck first with extreme speed. Flygon hit everyone but Dragonite on the field with Earthquake, after Whimsicott smartly used Cotton Guard to boost its defense by 3 stages. Gardevoir then connected with Icy Wind, which is quite effective on both dragons, instantly wiping out Flygon from the battle with a critical hit. Dragonite took less damage due to Multiscale and the Held Berry, but the side effects still lowered Dragonite's speed. True to Unova form, Drayton brought out Haxorus next, and knowing Gardevoir would instantly get eradicated by an Iron Head, I subbed out Gardevoir in favor of the Joker's Wild, my shiny Mismagius. After Dragonite's extreme speed missed due to Ghost immunity, Whimsicott locked Dragonite into that move with Encore. Mismagius then ate an Iron Head, and now seeing Whimsicott as a legit threat, Drayton attacked Whimsicott with 2 straight moves before Whimsicott's Moonblast brought Haxorus down to its Focus Sash. A dazzling gleam from Mismagius took out Haxorus and brought Dragonite down to half its HP. Dragonite struck for 1 more extreme speed before being eliminated by another Moonblast from Whimsicott as Sceptile was brought into battle. Mismagius harshly lowered the Hoenn starter's special defense with Fake Tears before taking a Leaf Storm, which also harshly lowered the special attack of Sceptile once Drayton summoned Kingdra into the battle next. Reminding Drayton of one of his own fainted dragons, I brought out Child's Play, my shiny Haxorus, into battle, as Whimsicott locked Sceptile into Leaf Storm with Encore. Probably feeling insulted by my substitution, Drayton eliminated my Whimsicott with a powerful Hurricane from Kingdra. Wanting to play nice for a change, I decided to bring in Body Language, my shiny Alolan Executor, into the battle. Sceptile continued to further weaken its special attack stat with another Leaf Storm targeting Haxorus and putting its special attack down to a -6 before Haxorus weakened Kingdra with a Dragon Pulse. Executor then gets annihilated by an Expert Belt boosted quad effective Ice Beam, forcing me to summon Gardevoir back into action. The substitution proved timely as Gardevoir traced Sceptile's Unburden ability and barely suffered a scratch from a nerfed Leaf Storm. After Sceptile took a Dragon Claw, Gardevoir sealed Kingra's fate permanently with a Draining Kiss. The encore torture from Whimsicott finally was over as Drayton brought out his ace Pokemon, Duraludon's new Gen 9 evolution, Archaludon. At that point, I felt Gardevoir had done enough, so I made another switch and bringing in my MVP from the battle with Crispin, Gladiator, my shiny Lapras. Whimsicott made a strong case for itself in being my most valuable Pokemon for this bout. But in this last sequence, you can also make that same claim for my now terrestrialized Haxorus. Wanting to make his strong Pokemon even stronger, Drayton also terrestrialized Archaludon into becoming a pure Dragon type. Sceptile scored a crit with X-Scissor, but I locked Haxorus into Outrage, which was powerful enough to obliterate Archaludon in a single hit. Drayton knew he was finished, so he went for one more Leaf Storm with Sceptile on Lapras, as Haxorus proved itself to be the ultimate closer by finishing off Sceptile with Outrage. I actually clicked Perish Song on this turn with Lapras, but those vocal cords were ultimately not needed, as I completed a clean sweep of the BB League Elite Four. To make this somewhat interesting for myself, I did not feed a single EV improving vitamin to any of the 30 shiny Pokemon I caught within this shiny-only run of Pokemon Violet, despite leveling them all up to 100 at the start of the Indigo Disk DLC storyline. And now the stage was set for one final battle, with a flashback to Teal Mask's past. Now more determined than ever, and laser-focused as the BB League champion, it was time for one more epic duel with my old pal Kieran, and all of Blueberry Academy will be watching. To borrow a line from Galar Region Champion Leon, I'm about to have some champion time. This is an official BB League announcement. A championship match is about to take place. If you would like to watch, please make your way to the battle court. The BB League champion Kieran arrives, beating everybody down that faced him in the Blueberry Academy on the way to becoming champion, driven by the fact that back in his hometown of Kitakami, he could not beat me. Taking my steps back onto the battle court, I was reminded of the fact of how cruel double battles are in the Blueberry Academy when I was rudely destroyed by Lacey's Plusle and Minun when I was building my team during my Violet Shiny Badge quest. When I looked at Kieran before making my first move, I planned on giving him that same type of humiliation, in order to snap Kieran out of his arrogant attitude that even alienated his own sister Carmine. So I brought out a trusty veteran crew of 6 shiny Pokemon, eager to make a resounding statement, as Kieran let out a primal scream, revealing his 2 lead Pokemon were Politoed and Dragonite. I decided to lead with Loterialoka, my shiny Greninja, and Hollywood Squares, my shiny Vikavolt. One thing I knew not to do was take Kieran lightly, as Politoed sets up the rain with Drizzle and immediately gave Dragonite a helping-handed boost. My first call of the match was have Greninja deliver a quad-effective Ice Beam to Dragonite. which also turned Greninja into an ice type due to its protein ability. Dragonite hit a 100% accurate Thunder, which was no longer super effective on Greninja. But unfortunately for Kieran, I had that same thought in mind, as his Politoed got struck down immediately in one hit with a thunderous response from Vikavolt. Hoping to even the score, Kieran immediately threatened Vikavolt's existence by bringing in the Alolan Fire Starter Intimidating Incineroar. Taking somewhat of a risk myself, I brought in my own fire Pokemon into the fray, match game my shiny Ceruledge. Incineroar faked out Greninja, getting a flinch, and with the rain still up, Dragonite struck Ceruledge with a 100% accurate Hurricane, also leaving Ceruledge confused. Fortunately, that was the last move Dragonite would make, as Greninja eliminated Dragonite from the equation with another Ice Beam. Ceruledge broke through confusion as I went for a Will-O-Wisp that was meant for the now knocked out Dragonite, and I nearly paid for that mistake as a powerful Darkest Lariat left Ceruledge down to just 1 HP due to the power of friendship. After realizing how lucky I was to not lose Ceruledge, I took yet another gamble as I decided to play Family Feud with my shiny Lucario, while Kieran brought out a Life Orb holding Porygon Z. With the rain still active, I had Greninja use Water Shuriken on Incineroar, getting 4 hits thanks to the held item Loaded Dice, leaving Incineroar low before healing up back to green with a Citrus Berry. Lucario took a Shadow Ball and avoided Darkest Lariat, so I had Lucario use Detect on the next turn. With the rain still up, Greninja went for another Water Shuriken, even scoring a crit on the first hit, while the remaining 3 hits was enough to take Incineroar out. Porygon Z's Hyper Beam went right into Lucario's Detect as the rain finally stopped. Kieran brought in his screen-setting wizard Grimmsnarl into the battle next. I felt I was in complete control of the bout now as I subbed out Greninja for Password, my shiny Corviknight. Grimmsnarl set up a Reflect, while Porygon Z again went for Hyper Beam, missing Lucario, a fatal mistake that Lucario capitalized on, knocking out Porygon Z with a close combat, lowering Lucario's own defenses in the process. Turning from annoyingly arrogant to downright delusional, Kieran felt like he still had me where he wanted me when he brought out his #1 Pokemon, the newest new evolution of Applin, Hydrapple. Reality immediately set in when I brought out my #1 Pokemon responsible for nearly all of the beatings I gave Kieran and Kitakami, the Price is Right, my shiny Gardevoir, who immediately traced the super sweet syrup ability, lowering the evasiveness of both Grimmsnarl and Hydrapple, which Kieran decided to terrestrialize into Terra Fighting. I had Corviknight hit Grimmsnarl with an Iron Head that was nerfed by the Reflect, while the Earth Power used by Hydrapple that was meant for Lucario couldn't even hit Gardevoir. Kieran just could not catch a break as I terrestrialized Gardevoir into Terra Fairy. Sensing victory, Gardevoir hit both Pokemon with a Terra-boosted Dazzling Gleam. Grimmsnarl was knocked out, while Hydrapple survived. I barely gave Hydrapple a tickle with a Thief from Corviknight thinking Hydrapple was holding an item. Hydrapple retaliated with a Terra Blast, which did some significant damage to Corviknight. After making one final switch, I had Gardevoir finish off the fight in style, making a lot of psychic noise. Playing a tune that was oh so familiar, Kieran suffered a humbling defeat, enabling me to dethrone him as the new BB League champion of the Blueberry Academy. It was a satisfying victory for all my shiny Pokemon that came with me to the battle. This was also a rewarding victory for Gardevoir and Ceruledge, 2 of the Pokemon that also took a loss when I was facing Lacey on my early visit to Blueberry Academy. As Kieran was brought down to his knees, everyone was in a complete state of stunned silence, watching the BB League champion get dethroned by an exchange student from Uva Academy in the Paldea region. As far as the BB League Elite Four was concerned, Crispin was blinded by the fact of how awesome the match was, before getting a stern talking to from Lacey, who could not stop Drayton, who was full of glee on the inside, as he walked up to a disconsolate and dejected Kieran, cruelly reminding him that he is now officially an ex-BB League champion. Still in utter disbelief, Kieran still felt like he could beat me if given a rematch. I tried to find the right words for Kieran to try to cheer him up, but ultimately, I really had nothing to say, as my performance in that BB League Championship match spoke for itself. Another important announcement was blaring over the loudspeakers. It even announced that Kieran was still the BB League champion. Drayton still felt the need for an update, immediately getting scolded for his thoughts by Lacey. What that important announcement was, I was called into Classroom 3-2 to meet up with Briar once again. For the first time since finishing the Teal Mask DLC storyline, I reunited with Blueberry Academy teacher Briar in her classroom. She congratulated me on becoming the new BB League champion, which is an unfortunate reminder of what Kieran once was. The announcement that Briar gave myself, Carmine, Kieran, and Drayton while in the classroom was that she was granted access to explore Area 0 back home in Paldea. Not only to investigate the terrestrial phenomenon, but to have a phenomenal encounter with the legendary Terapagos. Making a surprise guest visit was top champion Gita and Rika from the Elite Four. Gita handed over to me the Indigo Disk, and it was onward back to Paldea to explore Area 0 once again with Briar, Carmine, and Kieran. We made it all the way down to the deepest depths of Area 0, which was a breathtaking sight to behold. That's when I also found out through Briar about the new stellar Terra type. I needed to press on to the lowest depths of this treacherous cavern, and along the way we encountered 4 wild Pokémon, all with the stellar Terra type. Various shiny Pokémon that I brought with me to Area 0 made quick work of these 4 stellar wild Terra Pokémon: Glamora, Noivern, Ironthorns, and Garganacl. And once the latter Pokémon was defeated, the final blocked passageway was shattered, granting myself, Carmine, Kieran, and Briar the liberty of advancing on through, where we found a mysterious crystal. Kieran and Briar could not control themselves as they hurriedly rushed over to this crystal, once again giving Kieran grand illusions of thinking he can defeat me in battle. Kieran stronged on his way to removing the crystal from its pedestal, and as Kieran held it upward, a blinding light started to illuminate, revealing the legendary Pokémon Terapagos, one of the cutest turtles I've ever seen in a video game. Terapagos fixed its eyes and began to approach me, when Kieran shockingly threw a Master Ball at Terapagos, catching what he eventually thought in his mind, the golden ticket to finally best me in a Pokémon battle. As Kieran's eyes looked at that Master Ball with pride and amazement upon his latest capture, he immediately challenged me to an impromptu battle. This was my first look at Terapagos in battle mode, as I brought out my best Pokemon that has been with me virtually through the entire run, The Price is Right, my shiny Gardevoir. After trading attacks, Gardevoir won this battle of attrition with the Terastallized Moonblast, giving me yet another victory over the former BB League champion. At the request of Briar, Kieran Terastallized Terapagos with his Terra Orb, and that's when everything went haywire. Due to the shock and awe of everyone in the room, we were now staring face to face with the true terrestrial form of the hidden treasure of Area 0. Carmine suggested Kieran return Terapagos to its Master Ball, but the power of Terapagos was just too great, and the Master Ball completely snapped in half. Now I was subjected to the ultimate Terra Raid battle that not even the Terra Raid Crystal Den could hold, as I decided to use Family Feud, my shiny Lucario, to combat the first phase, with Terapagos being a part normal type. A Terastallized Drain Punch ended the first part of the bout, before Terapagos absorbed all of my Terrestrial energy, changing into a Psychic type. It then used a Zen Headbutt to render Carmine helpless for the remainder of the bout, and all of her Pokemon needing a trip to the Pokemon Center. In the second phase, Blockbuster's My Shiny Luxray sacrificed itself for the greater good in breaking the second shield with a terrestrialized wild charge. Coming out of his own emotional shell, Kieran finally decided to suck it up and assist me for the third and final phase, where Terapagos absorbs my terrestrial energy one last time, changing into a water type, making it the perfect time for me to bring out High Rollers, my shiny Lurantis. Kieran also brought forth his Hydrapple. Being a grass dragon type, it gives Hydrapple a quad resistance to water, as I use my Terra Orb for the final time, terrestrializing Lurantis into a powerful grass type. The terrestrialization gave Lurantis' Leaf Blade extra juice, slicing through the shield and defeating the legendary Terapagos. Now that Terapagos was brought down to size back to its Terra Shift form, it gave me the opportunity to catch Terapagos. And fittingly enough, I decided to use my favorite Pokeball, the Luxury Ball. This outstanding capture officially concludes the first time I ever finished an entire Pokemon game using only shiny Pokemon. To all of you who decided to take in this experience with me, I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart, especially if you watch this from the beginning to the end. And if you like this, be sure to leave a like. And if you are a newcomer, be sure to click on that subscribe button, because every subscription tells me that I am doing something right and will inspire me to want to make even more amazing gaming content. Also, if you so choose, let me know which of the 30 shiny Pokemon I caught on this journey of Pokemon Violet that made the most impact in the comments. Once again, a very special heartfelt thank you to artist and streamer Ember Z Painter for the amazing channel art that she generously made for me. She is excellent at what she does, so as a favor to me, go to Ember Z Painter's YouTube channel and subscribe to her as well, as she so richly deserves it. And as always, take care, God bless you all, and keep on shining.